blah, blah. Is it recording?
I'm recording.
Are you recording? All right. All right, guys. Yep. We'll just assume that this thing is recording and we will go from there. This is John Walk here with LNP, LancasterOnline. On this call with me is Mr. Mike Gross. Mike, say hi.
Hi.
And Jeff Reinhart.
Hi, gang. I hope everybody is staying safe and social distancing out there.
That's right. So forgive us kind of for any technical difficulties. This is the first time that we are trying this as a group. We're in Microsoft Teams, not Zoom. We figured just kind of give you guys an update as far as what the heck is going on in the sports world on our end, how we're juggling everything in light of the current circumstances. And with that said, we're obviously on a new platform for us. At least for me and Jeff anyway. I know Mike is relatively familiar with this, being on calls on Zoom with the Penn State football team. And I guess, Mike, I just kind of want to start there in regards to what you've seen from the top line college football institution. Obviously, the players can't be at practice with coaches, and how have they kind of made up for that from what you've seen in your experiences so far?
Well, Penn State has really jumped in the deep end with Zoom. I mean, they're doing a lot of even academically, all the students are doing all their meetings with their professors, and their the professor's office hours are via Zoom. But the football team is using it. They're meeting. The football players are doing about 4 meetings a week. Is what I can reckon. It's with the whole squad, and then with your position coach, and then the conditioning people are jumping in, and they're trying to tailor their players' workouts to what they have available at their house. Some of them have weights at their house, and some of them don't. They're doing body weight workouts, et cetera, et cetera. But the other interesting thing is they have a somewhat new offense. The football team's going to have a somewhat new offense and a new offensive coordinator. And we did a Zoom this morning with him, Kirk Shiraka, and he was talking about how they actually are installing some new offense via Zoom with the offensive players, and then they're also giving the players quizzes, and then grading the quizzes, and sort of, he was saying that they're sort of using that like to grade themselves. Like if everybody's bombing the quiz or a section of the quiz, well, this is something that I'm not communicating effectively. So Penn State's all over it. We had one this morning. We're going to have one again tomorrow morning. I've done like 6 of them already just with Penn State, and a couple of ones on other topics. So it's a Zoom world, guys.
It is.
And obviously the Penn State spring football game has been canceled in light of the current circumstances. Along with that, the PIAA High School Winter Sports Championships are still on hold, with basketball and swimming and diving, and the start of the spring sports season is on hold at this point. I guess with that, I kind of want to switch to Mr. Reinhart. You've been in contact with some District 3 officials, LL League officials. What can you tell us on that end?
Okay, well, talked with Ron Kennedy a couple of times, LL League executive director, and I talked with Doug Bohannon, a District 3 rep from Elko. Ron, of course, is at Donegal. So they kind of just been following, what the PIAA is saying, and the PIAA has kind of been following Governor Wolf's mandates. Everything is at a holding pattern. Everything is suspended. They have not canceled anything yet, hence basketball and swimming still being suspended, postponed, I think it says on the brackets. I think it's kind of cool that they haven't canceled it yet. I mean, everything across the board is just being canceled. But I think postponing it, just from talking to a lot of coaches and kids here for the last 4 weeks, it gives them something. It gives them something to, kind of hope for, and it's out there. And I think the frustrating thing about all of this is that there's no end game. There's no finish line, and you can't point to a date and say, okay, on this day, we're going to get back in the pool and get back on the court. That's the frustrating part. But I think by the PIAA keeping it there and saying, hey, stay in shape, stay at home, keep fit, perhaps we'll get back to this. I think it gives the kids a little hope and something to shoot for. And nobody knows, you guys can vouch, nobody knows how this is going to end. Nobody knows when this is going to end. I know baseball's talking about playing in May, which may be a little, I don't know, out there. But, who's to say that on May X, They don't say, hey, we're going to pick up, let's finish the basketball, let's get them in the pool. Who knows? Nobody knows. So just as far as everything being on pause, John, it stinks. And every time I've talked to Ron Kennedy, he just kind of basically said, got to go by what PIAA says. Everybody stay home, everybody self-distance, stay fit, stay in shape. And if we can get back out and have some kind of a spring season, we will. So everybody's just kind of on pause and waiting it out.
And I think both you and Mike have kind of said this as far as staying alert, staying fit, to being able to do kind of some workouts at home. I think that's been really cool to see, just in terms of use of social media and Zoom and whatnot, and these kids just kind of adapting. And with that, Jeff, you had done a story a couple of days ago in regards to a push-up challenge among high school teams. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, push-up challenge. Doug Bohannon and Lyndon Engel. Lyndon's a assistant coach at Cocalico. Bo, as everybody knows, he's the AD at Elko, and those guys graduated from Elko together. And ever since 11th grade, 12th grade, they do push-ups every day. And they have this routine where they do it where it's 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off. And you got to work your way up to 100 a day, 4 sets of 25. So they thought it would be fun to share it with their student athletes and get it out there. All the Elko kids are on board. The Cocalico kids are on board. E-Town is called. Cedar Crest is called. It's all over Twitter. I think it's at @DBohannon. It's the Elko Twitter. And Bo gets on there every day and he puts, okay, here's where you should be. Today is, 4 sets of 12. Mm-hmm. And it's a really neat thing. And so look at Lancaster Online. I have the story up with how it works and where to go and everything. But like you said, John, a lot of student athletes right now are trying to come up with different ways to work out other than just walking around the block or jogging. A lot of the ADs and coaches and strength trainers are sending out routines to their kids, and they're doing different workout routines to, pass the time and stay in shape. But thanks for bringing up the push-up thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't know, at least in my opinion, Twitter and Instagram and the kind of these social media platforms can somewhat be toxic sometimes. And I think we've seen the best of their use, at least these last few weeks, and just the cool videos that people are sending to each other of throwing videos across, or throwing balls across the screen and making a whole video about it. It's been pretty cool. Jeff, you just kind of touched on a little bit as far as like, who knows when sports will be coming back. This morning, I think, was the first I've seen as far as a possibility of a pro sport, with Major League Baseball talking about possibly doing something in Arizona, putting all the players in one place, staying in one hotel, and maybe trying something later on in another month or two. And with that said, I think Mike's been really up to speed, at least better than Jeff and I have, just in regards to a possibility of sports returning. Now, again, none of us are experts here, but I'm just kind of curious of, Mike, where do you see this going as far as a possible return to at least a little bit of normalcy?
Well, I think the real big worry with this is a lot of things that I've read from public science people and public health people is that this virus could really decrease its severity when the weather gets warm. But then there's a possibility of it coming back with a vengeance when the weather cools off again. And that's what scares me about all these specific scenarios. I think the NBA is the one sport that you can see, because they're about 3/4 of the way through their regular season. They could make an adjustment and maybe play their playoffs at one location, like you're talking about with baseball. I don't see how you do that with anything like a regular Major League Baseball schedule. But with the NBA, I think that's somewhat plausible. I think football coming back in the fall is the big monster story here for us, which involves economics, it involves public health, it involves politics. I mean, that this could be, and especially if 4 or 5 weeks into the football season, this virus comes back with a vengeance, which I mean, I'm not, all I'm telling you is what I've read, that is a real possibility. And well, I don't want to go down the political road, but you guys know that's going to be one of the biggest sports related stories potentially in American history. It's the nexus of so many things about this situation. That's the big one, I think.
Right. And for players and coaches out there watching this, we miss sports just as much as you guys do, and we hope we can get it back as soon as possible. With that said, again, this is the first time that we're using this platform, and I guess we kind of hope to use this moving forward. Jeff, I know you kind of have some hopes on that side. What do you what's your plans there possibly moving forward on here?
This is a cool tool, and I think we need to use it, especially if everybody's kind of pent up here for X amount of more weeks.
Yeah.
I think people miss reading about the games and the kids and the coaches and what we do, and I think this is a great tool to get in touch with those folks and say how are you? What is your story? How are you coping with this? How are you dealing with this? Especially the kids, the seniors. I feel awful for the seniors who are missing their spring sports season right now. I can't imagine.
Right.
So
right.
I just think this would be a really nice mechanism to reach out to the folks that we cover on a daily basis and see how they're doing and let them tell their story. Here's what we're dealing with. Here's how we're coping. Obviously, we miss sports and we miss our kids and we miss the games. Coaches, kids, athletic directors, people in the know who know about these things and what we're dealing with. I just think this is a great platform to do what the three of us do: get stories out there and tell people and show people, hey, here we go, we're all in this. Let's talk. And
yeah, we'll do it. So everybody, I mean, to our audience, watch for this stuff. We're going to be doing this stuff, and we're going to be experimenting with it and trying to be creative with it and find a little bit of a new way to get across to the audience.
Definitely.
Yeah, and maybe if this first recording for us three goes well, maybe we'll turn this into like a weekly thing. Who knows? All right, guys. Thanks you guys for watching out there, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace out.
Yep.